Hello everyone and welcome. In this video I'm going to show you my PvP Condition Ranger. The first weapon set I use in this build is an axe and a torch. I do keep a warhorn on hand so I can gain the swiftness buff to get around the map faster, and then I swap back to my torch once I've done that. My second weapon is a short bow, pretty obvious choice for a condition damage build. By default I enter combat with the axe and the torch first. Because of that, I keep leeching as the sigil on the short bow, so once I've engaged in combat and I swap to my bow, I get a nice 975 health steal from my opponent. My sigil for the other weapon set, the axe and the torch, the axe has energy to gain endurance when I swap back to this later on in the fight for additional dodge rolling goodness, and for the offhand torch I have 10% increased burning duration. This does give us an additional tick on the burning skills we get from this weapon. For my armor runes, I have Nightmare runes. This gives us condition damage and duration, as well as a nice little effect, 5% chance to cause fear for 1 second when hit. That can save you from things like 100 Blades Warrior, for example, or get a thief off of you temporarily. There are some other options you could put in here. Undead would be a nice well-rounded one. That definitely is a good choice if you feel like you need a little more toughness. I think the Nightmare runes kind of balance out some good offense and defense with the little fear effect, and we already have pretty high toughness for a ranger. Not only that, but when we get to the utility skills and traits in a moment, you'll see that we have plenty of defense from other sources, so I thought it would be better to go for more offense in this case. Undead runes would give us more condition damage as well, but with this setup we're getting extra ticks on most of our conditions, and the increase in condition damage from undead does not outperform the extra tick, especially on burning. For the amulet, I have a Carrion amulet and jewel. This is a pretty easy decision. All stats we want, no stats we don't want. This is a perfect choice for this build. For my healing skill, I take Troll's Unguent. This definitely gives us the most total heal from any of our healing skills here. Heal as one doesn't seem that great. I'm not concerned about healing my pet most of the time because I can just swap between the two. I don't like being bound to a certain position with Healing Spring. The heal amount is not that great either compared to Trolls, and I already have another source of condition removal in this build, and also it has a longer cooldown, so that's definitely out of the question. Trolls is definitely my choice for this. My first utility skill is Protect Me. This is traded to have a shorter cooldown. This causes my pet to take all damage for me for 6 seconds. A very useful skill here. Gives us a lot of our survivability. Combining Protect Me with our next skill, Signet of Stone. This is also traded so that all Signet effects affect both me and my pet. So again, I become invincible, or sort of invincible, not exactly. Mostly invincible for 6 additional seconds. The passive effect is just fine as well. Because we are trading signets quite a bit, obviously it makes sense to take another signet. Signet of Renewal. Cures conditions passively, and obviously the pulling of all conditions from me to my pet is absolutely amazing. That will definitely save your skin in a lot of situations. The elite skill, Entangle, very very good for fights or group fights, locking down multiple enemies for up to 20 seconds if they don't destroy the vines. Most people do, but a lot of bad players don't. But that's obviously really strong. Excellent bleeding as well. Just a really good all-around elite skill for a condition damage ranger. Now there's one note about this skill. It is listed as a survival skill. However, the trait in Wilderness Survival that lowers survival skill cooldowns does not seem to affect it. I assumed it would because, for example, the warrior trait that lowers signet cooldowns does affect the elite signet that the warrior has. So I don't know what's going on here. I don't have that trait in this build anyways. I might put it in if that was fixed, but even still, that is an excellent elite to take. Now for the traits, I have 30 Marksmanship, 30 Wilderness Survival, and 10 Beast Mastery. This allows us to max out our condition damage and condition duration. Toughness, a little healing power, why not, as well as some additional power. All very good things. My first Marksmanship trait is Keen Edge. This gives us Sharpening Stone when our health reaches 75%. I kind of like abilities like this or traits like this. It feels like it's giving you an additional utility skill slot. This is a pretty easy pickup here. Additional damage, more bleeding, excellent for a condition build. The next trait is Signet Mastery. We do have two very, very powerful signets in this build, so it obviously makes sense to lower their cooldowns by 20%. And of course, to make this whole thing work, we need Signet of the Beastmaster, so that our Signet of Stone also makes us invulnerable as well. I don't really care about my pet anyways, why does he need to be invulnerable? Now for my Wilderness Survival traits, the first one I take is Shared Anguish, causing the first incoming disable to be transferred to my pet instead of to me. Very, very powerful effect. A lot of characters like to CC their target and then tee off on them. The most obvious example of that would be a Bull's Charge 100 Blades Warrior. But with this effect, I don't get knocked down. Instead, my pet does, who cares anyways, and I get to dodge roll away from that warrior and survive. Very good. My next trait, Hide in Plain Sight. The second time someone tries to CC me, I still will be CC'd, but I will go invisible. Now, good players know that even though I'm stealthed, I'm still right where I was. You know, let's say they stunned me or knocked me down, and they can still swing into air and do damage. But other effects like Fear or Launch will cause you to be de-targeted by your opponent, which is a nice effect of going invisible, and it's less predictable where you are, so you do kind of get to escape for a brief moment. Your enemy will have to reacquire you as a target, and it gives you additional opportunities to either escape or reposition or do whatever to continue the fight and gain an advantage. Now, I did test Shared Anguish and Hide in Plain Sight, and the two do not have any interference with one another. The first CC effect will definitely trigger Shared Anguish, and the second one will trigger Hide in Plain Sight, so you don't need to worry about them both triggering at the same time or canceling each other out or anything like that. And my final Wilderness Survival trait is Bark Skin. I did try Empathic Bond in the last trait slot. I actually think it's kind of terrible. We do have a reliable on-command condition removal in this build already anyways, and after some testing I really never saw the effect of this when I really needed it. An example is getting immobilized for 5 seconds by a warrior or something like that, and I would just kind of stand around, attack what I could and wait for the trait to kick in, but it never actually did when I really needed it to, so it seems pretty useless. My choice is Bark Skin. And finally, with my 10 points in Beast Mastery, I get Shout Master. This reduces the cooldown of my Protect Me shout by 20%. Obviously a very powerful effect. The other thing I like about this is with the 5 points, or the first 5 points, we get Zephyr Speed. Quickness being one of the best boons you can get in the game. So we get 2 seconds of quickness when we swap pets in combat. Very, very powerful effect. Allows us to set up some nice combos where we can immobilize our foe, swap pets, get behind them, and just unload Crossfire or other skills into their backside. I really, really like this trait here. And finally, for the pets I use in this build, the first pet I use is Eensy Weensy. He is a jungle spider. His passive abilities are pretty awesome. He has a 4-second immobilize that he will use on his own. We've got additional poison damage, not that high damage, but it's still okay. And another active ability, 2-second stun. So that's a total of 6 seconds of CC that we get from this pet on an opponent. He is a ranged pet, and his damage is a little lower than most other pets, but really the utility we get from the CC is worthwhile. Quick note about the spider in general. I see a lot of people running around with the Black Widow spider. He has the exact same abilities as the jungle spider, but his vitality is 1474, and whoops, the jungle spider's vitality and all other spiders have 2848. So I know the Black Widow looks cool. I think this might be like I don't know where this pet came from. Maybe he's not an actual PvP pet. Maybe he's a trophy or a Hall of Monuments thing or something, but don't use the Black Widow. He's terrible. Use Eensy Weensy, the jungle spider. My second pet, whoops, is a wolf. The wolf, I think, is probably the best all-around pet for PvP for rangers. He has a cripple, a knockdown, and the active ability is a 2-second fear. AoE fear, that is. Amazing, amazing ability. There are a lot of uses for this skill. I think the fear is really strong for PvP. Definitely my choice for the final pet. My cat and I would like to thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you want to try out the build, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Please do so. Also, you can check out my live stream at twitch.tv/IQValor, and I will see you guys next time.